Hi, and welcome to today's video where I will be doing an idol dance ranking of the Everglow members. Yaran, for the most part, stays on time. Her technique holds her musicality back a bit, but it's not a hugely noticeable problem. Yaran has consistent facial expressions, but they are a little too subtle for the stage. Her technique has not developed enough for her to begin adding her own style to movements. There's not much to say about Yaran's technique at the moment. She has the least developed body control in Everglow alongside EU. One thing I will give her credit for is bringing the energy despite her technical level. Most idols like Yaran give up slightly and end up missing a lot of details, something I've never seen her do. Sahayan sometimes loses control and rushes ahead of the music, and she can't always catch every detail. However, I think she actually does have a feel for the music. For her, it's about bringing her technique up so she can match her body to what goes on in her head. Sahayan has very good facial expressions. She has a small tendency of locking her head to the front, which is very common for beginners, but her dance break in La Dida showed me that she has a lot of potential in terms of performance quality. Sahayan has a noticeably long torso, and that contributes to her standout flexibility. She can create beautiful lines on occasion. Because of her proportions, I think she finds it a lot easier to move underneath herself. She's actually pretty good in very traditional idol choreography. No major weaknesses in her upper body. Her biggest problem is that she completely stiffens up during sections that require more athleticism. Despite being so flexible, she ends up cutting a lot of details in quick waves. She could transform into a very alluring dancer if she learns how to control her flexibility and improve her coordination. Probably because of a lack of control, EU is prone to missing beats, and she's quite far from being able to show an interpretation of the music with her own body. EU's facial expressions can get pretty inconsistent when she has to struggle to keep up with the choreography, and she hasn't developed her body control enough to make choices with her movement. However, in easier choreography, she shows that she is a good performer. EU has the best natural alignment in the group, and this helps her get through simple sections of choreography without looking awkward. As long as the steps are not too challenging, EU can create sharp leg angles. However, her muscles seem to be very weak, and she has a lot of balance issues. She's probably the weakest in the group when it comes to powerful sections. Aisha has surprisingly good musicality given her level of technique. She has an awareness of accents and is often the best in the group at translating sounds into movement. Aisha is a very expressive performer. Alongside her facial expressions, she demonstrates artistry with her transitions from move to move. She's capable of using locks to some level, and those help punctuate her dynamics. Once her control improves, she'll be able to introduce resistance into her dancing, thereby allowing the powerful moments to shine.
You know that I
Aisha's biggest strength is the energy and power she brings. She has very long arms, and these can be used to create eye-catching angles. However, similar to Hyunjin from Luna, Aisha's arms just look lanky at the moment without adequate muscles to control them. She also has a habit of flicking her fingertips up. This works in some cases, but it really got in her way during the voguing sections in La Dida. She shows a lot of potential in popping. Aisha has a lot of the coordination issues that I'd expect of someone so tall. She can get quite awkward on weight transfers. I think it would also benefit her to think of keeping her elbows close to her body and pay more attention to the inward and outward rotation of her legs. Onda has a good sense of timing. I don't know what happened for Onda between Dun Dun and La Dida, but she went from having awkward and inconsistent facial expressions to, in my opinion, being the best performer in the group. Onda is most expressive with her eyebrows, and she's learned to time her face to reflect whichever steps create the most impact. Side note, lightening her eyebrows and cutting bangs to cover the entire top half of her face was not the most intelligent idea her stylists have ever had. Onda is the only member of Everglow with street dance training, and it shows in her range of dynamics. Practically all of the issues in Onda's technique can be traced back to her poor posture. It's unfortunate because I genuinely believe she could become one of the best dancers in the K-pop industry. Like Yuna from ITZY, Onda's rare amongst female idols in the sense that she is both fluid and powerful. Her street dance background gives her a wide vocabulary of movement. Quick disclaimer here, I am not a doctor or physiotherapist. I'm not trying to formally diagnose her with anything. My evaluation of her posture and how it's impacting her movement is the product of my research and personal dance background. First, let's go over some basics of spine anatomy. The adult spine can be broken down into 3 sections: the cervical spine, consisting of 7 vertebrae, the thoracic spine, consisting of 12 vertebrae, and the lumbar spine, consisting of 5 or 6 vertebrae. The spine has a natural S-shape which helps evenly distribute mechanical stress and absorb impact. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to be using lordosis to describe the natural inward curvatures of the cervical and lumbar spine, and kyphosis to describe the natural outward curvature of the thoracic spine. But keep in mind that these terms can refer to both the spine's natural curvature and to alignment problems. I will use a prefix of either hyper or hypo to describe exaggerated and inadequate curvatures. Based on what I've seen, I'm guessing that Onda has postural lumbar hyperlordosis. Her abdomen protrudes more than it should, and her pelvis is curved up. Usually, this occurs when the transverse abdominals, obliques, glutes, and hamstrings are weak and stretched out, while the hip flexors and lower back extensors are overactive. As some of you might remember from my analysis on June from 17, poor pelvic alignment will really mess with a dancer's ability to perform footwork fully. I encourage you to try it for yourself. Really arch your back, then try to do some footwork. It's a lot harder, right? Onda's wide stance can also look off because of her pelvis alignment. Second, Onda seems to have forward shoulder posture, or FSP for short. FSP is just a fancy way of saying that her shoulders are rounded. Note that FSP does not necessarily mean that she has hyperkyphosis, which I don't believe she does. Her thoracic spine looks like it has a normal curve. Rounded shoulders make it really hard for Onda to control her arm angles. To give another, more severe example, take a look at Hyabin from Momoland. I know how these things go down in the K-pop fandom, so let me just make clear that I am not saying that Onda's posture puts her health at risk. Her posture is pretty standard for a non-dancer. She can still improve her technique with the body she has now. Kanata Shishido has close to the same posture as Onda, and she's a good dancer who gets plenty of work. However, there's an obvious limit to her freedom of movement. I want Onda to work with a dance coach or physiotherapist one-on-one to correct her alignment and give her access to her full potential. Maya has a good sense of timing. Maya's a good performer, but she tends to resort to her default facial expressions. It's genuinely difficult to keep your face engaged throughout a 3.5-minute performance, but when she smirks so often, it can come off as unnatural. I think another easy way to improve herself as a performer is to stop tucking her chin. That alone would make her seem a lot more relaxed on stage. Right now, Mia doesn't have a ton of tools at her disposal in terms of dynamics, but I can tell she has ideas about what kind of feeling she wants to create with her dancing. Maya's technique is constantly underestimated because she's not a very powerful dancer. However, very few female idols can match her smooth and consistent isolations. She's very fluid with great connection through her torso and hips. Mia suffers from what I like to call shrunken movement, a type of dancing common amongst female idols where it looks like the person's limbs and body shape are being retracted. Their body doesn't look like it's being used fully in space. This is partially the result of a person's natural body type, but it gets compounded by issues in their technique. In Maya's case, it's the result of messy fingertips, loose arms, underextended torso isolations, and a lack of street dance experience. I'll go through some other good examples. Rie Hatta, a famous Japanese hip-hop dancer and choreographer, has proportions very similar to Mia. Her torso is not noticeably broken into sections, and her limbs are on the shorter side. However, her dancing doesn't look small or shortened. The reason why she doesn't look like the idols I mentioned above is largely due to her strong hip-hop base, but her arm control is also significant. When she has to make a fist, she makes an actual fist. When she has to open her hands, she doesn't let them twist up. When she has to straighten her arms, she properly does so. Her arms have enough muscle on them to never look overly loose. This muscle control is something Mia could learn from. Don't get me wrong, you still register body type when Rie dances, but not in a way that detracts from her performance. I look at her and think, wow. Look at that tiny powerhouse go. Unlike in ballet, street dance is not about disguising or fixing the things that make you unique. It's about working with them to create the best possible effect. Maya's small appearance can become a very positive aspect of her dancing. As an example from the opposite direction, look at how this dancer moves. I doubt his performance would be as interesting if not for his extremely lanky body type. It's just that at this moment in time, Mia does not have a strong enough street dance base to consciously synergize her body type with the choreography. Going forward, I'd love to see her expand her dance vocabulary and learn how to bring power and extension to her dancing. Mia and Onda complement each other really well as the two best dancers of the group. Where Mia brings balanced technique, Onda brings power and performance. As a whole, I give Everglow a lot of credit for how committed they are as performers. I've yet to see another group without a single blank-faced member. I also think the choreographers do an excellent job of choosing who to highlight for each section. Every dance break thus far has been given to the member best suited for the job. Maya's control for Dun Dun, Sahayan's charisma, hips, and voguing for La Dida, and Onda's hip-hop technique for First. I'm interested to see how they develop as a group going forward.